Dubious ones, welcome back. Today we are going to go over some Ultra Pro Wrestling from our interview with Sam Vallely. This in specifically in regards to the community creations, and more specifically, community creations you create that may have a DLC exclusive part on that wrestler. So there will be DLC exclusive parts and moves to the different DLC characters that they have coming in the game. For example, a Matt Cardona, his vest that he has is a unique attire part that so far only his character is using. So the whole rest of the 100 in-game roster spots that they all have shared assets that everybody can use and you can use with different characters and everything. Matt Cardona, if you download his DLC, he's the only one with that jacket. Now I asked if you can create a wrestler using those assets, and not only can you use those assets, but if you use those unique assets, or for example, another example he gave us is Chris Candido himself, I believe, has a unique move to him, like the power bomb off the top rope. Is going to be a move unique to that DLC character, at least his animation of that move. So if you were to say put that on your created wrestler and you were to upload it to community creations, would you be able to do that? And would you be able to, if you were able to do that, are you able to then have your friends download your creation and other people be able to download that creation if they don't own that DLC, or how that's all going to work, or if people can re-download stuff if it has, DLC content, or will that content be removed from the character, replaced with like a default thing, which I think would be really weird if they did that, because then you might be missing specific attire parts, so the creation looks weird. So I want a clarification on just how the DLC parts will interact, and just to ensure also that, like, if you download and you bought, say, Matt Cardona as a DLC roster member, what's stopping someone else from just creating a wrestler, moving all the parts from Matt Cardona over to that create a wrestler, and then uploading that to community creations, and then everybody would be able to download that for free, if you were able to do that. So I just got some clarification on that for us. So I'll let you guys listen to Sam himself explain how that's all going to work. So here you guys go. It's
Sure.
to do with the DLC exclusive parts, whereas certain characters, I know you mentioned in the past, Matt Cardona's vest is unique to him, whereas most of the parts are interchangeable with all the wrestlers. His vest is the only example I have, but where it's exclusive to him. Now, if I, for instance, have purchased Matt Cardona and I make a version of Stone Cold Steve Austin or some wrestler, and I use his vest, will I then be able to upload my creation of whoever it is that's using that DLC exclusive part? Will I be able to upload that to community creations? And it's not just specifically the vest, it's any, DLC exclusive part, whether it's a Bret Hart sunglasses or
Yeah.
whoever might come down the line as a DLC. If they have an exclusive part on them and I make my own wrestler that uses that, will I be able to upload them to community creations? And my second part of that question is, if I am able to upload them to community creations, if Stryzer now wants to download, or someone wants to download my character, because I've made a perfect Steve Austin or whoever it might be, will they have to then own each corresponding DLC that has an exclusive part on them? Like if I have three different DLC characters exclusive parts, like a vest, sunglasses, boots, whatever it is, will they have to also own each of those three DLCs to be able to download it?
Yes. So you will be able to upload it, but in order for someone to download it, it will come up and say this item requires these attire parts.
Perfect.
Because obviously, if we want you to be able to upload all the creations that you make,
Yep.
including the ones that you've made with the attire parts, but obviously, if we just let anyone download them, then the whole DLC
Yeah, it makes
thing
it
Exactly.
dies.
This is what I wanted
And
to bring to your attention. This is
yeah.
exactly why
yeah,
I wanted to bring it to your attention, because I'm like, if you do that, then they can just upload all of Matt Cardona. Just copy
yeah,
him, clone him to a creator wrestler, upload him, and then you can just download all the DLC for free.
yeah,
So this
and
is
then
what
and
I
then
was
we'll
this is what I was hoping for.
and then we'll probably get a call from Matt Cardona
Exactly.
going,
Yeah.
"What are
What's
you
going
doing?"
on? Exactly. So then the same question goes with just the DLC exclusive moves. Is that going to be the same thing? So if there's specific moves that were attached to that DLC wrestler, you'll need to own that DLC to if the
Yeah, I
character
mean,
has that move.
we will have DLC exclusive moves, because there's some characters with the DLC where their attire items are not too out there. You know,
Yeah.
you probably could create them. So it's almost like, well, what am I getting from this character that I couldn't just create? And so there's certain moves that, um, like Chris Candido's power bomb off the top. You know, that's his version of that move is something that we either wouldn't have got around to doing until, like, you know, way later. But having him in the game, that gives us that excuse to do that, because then we can, you know, pull in some money to the development for that move.
So
Um,
now, Mike, it's and I apologize for just adding Stryzer for adding to this. It's just because with this, I know I've run into this issue in the past with WWE games. Is when you would go to download like a perfect Hulk Hogan or whatever, and it says, well, it requires this DLC, but it wouldn't tell you specifically what it is. So, like, I accidentally uploaded my own character because I owned all the DLC, but my friend had none of it, and he couldn't download just my own self because it said he needs this, and this DLC. But I didn't even know what parts of DLC I was using because it was moves, it was attire parts, it was whatever. I didn't know what moves to take off my character to let him download it without it. So I had no idea how to allow him because it. And he's like, "Well, I'm not spending $30 to download your character." I'm like, "Obviously." So I'm
yeah.
just. Will it tell you what like specific moves or things from a DLC so that creators can try and also upload a version that doesn't have that, so they have a free version to download?
Yeah, I mean, to us, that's a very obvious way of, you know, that's like that's advertising for the DLC, you know. So like, you don't want to say, oh, you can't just download that, you know, because it has these attires, and you need to go and guess which ones that it
Yeah,
has. You know, we'd almost like it'd be like a smart business decision to have like a link to the DLC when you go
yes,
to download the character, and it says, you know, you need Matt Cardona's jacket. Click here, and you can, you know, download it. So yeah, I mean,
perfect.
that seems like a kind of
Nice.
no brainer. That's strange to me that other games just didn't, you know,
Yeah,
consider
like
that.
I had no
Right.
idea. I'm just like, I guess I
I
have a
have
bunch of
a
DLC moves. Sorry, go ahead,
I have
Stryzer.
an ask for you about that. Will you be able to see in 2K when you buy DLC or a character, it just lumps all the parts together. So you have to dig for it for hours to try to find what's new.
Yeah,
Are you going to have it to where you have the in-game parts, the DLC parts, all, you know, like categorized? Because that would help tremendously when you're trying to create a character. Just like Mr. Dubs, like he wants his buddy to download his character and he has no idea. You can go through and see what is DLC. Then, oh, okay, I know exactly what they're moving. Because if you
Yeah,
sort it out, that would help us like a crap ton.
yeah. We because I'm actually in the middle just now of building out. We're doing all the moves in the menu. And you know, looking back at No Mercy, whenever you unlocked a move, it was highlighted. But yeah, we were literally just yesterday talking about the different ways that we could filter through things. Because if you go through the moves list, um,
it's massive.
you know, if you go on No Mercy, it's, you know, you go into the strong strikes or something,
Yeah,
and it's huge.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, we were literally talking about the different ways that you could filter. And someone asked about a search functionality, so you could just hold in square or something, and it'll bring up a keyboard, and you could type in. But yeah, like in No Mercy, they actually had different colors for the unlockable items. We would do the same with the downloadable items, where they would be colored differently. And then you could filter it so that you would only show the DLC items, or you could, if you know what it's called, if you know it's Matt Cardona's jacket, you can either tab along to M, or you can hold in a button that will bring up a search filter, and you just type in, you know, Cardona, and it'll bring up all the Matt Cardona stuff.
Awesome.
that's awesome to
Love
hear.
that. Love that. So
Hard to,
the so user friendly. I love hearing
Yeah,
yeah,
that.
we're so about that. It's a thing I keep talking about with like the color palette that we have. Like, some people might look at it and think it's kind of limited, um, but there's actually something really nice about that. It lets you create characters so much quicker, so much easier than, you know, if you're trying to create. I always use the example of the Green Ranger. Like, if you're trying to create the Green Ranger, you could spend a long time getting that exact right color of green. You know,
yeah,
whereas in No Mercy, if you wanted to make the Green Ranger, you had like 3 options of green. You know, so
exactly. Yeah, I remember that.
so we'll have more than 3 options, but I do like the idea of it being just really easy. It's one thing I don't know if you played the new Street Fighter game that came out.
Yeah.
Love it.
I think I got the demo for it, and it was, you know, the very first thing you do is create your character, and just I don't know. There's something so intimidating about the amount of options that you have.
Yes.
That you know that you're going to be there for like an hour at least.
Yeah.
You know,
I spent 2 hours making my character.
That's some of my favorite parts of the wrestling
I
games,
was like,
though.
Yeah,
some of the
yeah.
best parts is spending the time creating my character. I love that. I love that.
I like it if you can deep dive in it, and then if you want to. But when I'm creating a character and I'm, you know, spending so much time just on the face and I've not even got to anything yet, it makes me kind of go, oh, I'll come back to it later. Whereas I kind of like if you had sort of surface level options and then an advanced tab that if you want to really go into the deep stages of it, you can. But the idea of making it more simple on the surface so that you can just quickly set a face and you know, all that stuff. And it's actually something with the color palette. It's an idea I've been playing with because, you know, people do like to really go deep with it. That so let's say we have like 6 different options for red. You know, I'm now thinking, you know, maybe if you hold in a button, you know, you see the button, the thing go round, and then it opens up, and then you get like this almost like this hidden color wheel, which is it's all the different versions of red that you could get. So that, you know, if you just can't get that right color of red with those surface level options, then you could do a deeper dive. And it's the same with the body morphing. You know, you've got your basic body morphing buttons, but then there's the advanced tab. You know, and it's kind of it's not like if the WWE game, I think they don't really have an advanced tab. It's just all there in one list.
It's all pre-selected and it sucks. Sorry, but it sucks. It's bad.
That's what I mean about it being just like intimidating. If you open up like a menu and there's like 20 options and we're only on the head, it's just kind of like it's just a little bit off-putting. That I just think, oh, I'll come back to it. I'll do it later. You know. But whereas if you have like, you know, the nose, you can select like a handful of different noses. But then you've got the advanced tab that if you really wanted to take your time with
it, you want to change
it,
you can. Yeah, I love
you
that.
can. Yeah.
I love that.
But I'm just more interested in like the menu and the layout and not making it just too overwhelming. You know?
Intimidating. You're like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Like when the move sets, like you're saying, I'll make my character. I'll spend like all day making my character, and then when I get to the moves, I just pick a pre-selected set of moves until I can go back later, and I might change the finisher or something because the move set, you know how many moves? There's like thousands of moves in every different little category. It takes time.
And especially like when you just start a game, like with that Street Fighter game, like when you just turn it on, you kind of just want to quickly create just a guy so that you can jump into the game, and then you'll go back and spend some time on the creation if you decide that you like the game. But if you spend like an hour and a half on a character and then you play the game for 5 minutes and you're like, oh, this game's rubbish, you know.
Has happened to me many times.
Right.
But Clint, you had a question about the creation parts too, right? So there you go, you guys. That was a wonderful answer, very in depth, more than I expected to get from Sam himself. I was very pleased with the answers because this not only lets us know that you can take DLC assets, be it moves, clothing parts, or otherwise, and you can create a wrestler, use them freely as you would with any of the other wrestlers in the game. You can fully edit every wrestler in the game any way you want. Put Matt Cardona's face on any other wrestler in the game. Put, Wrath's attire parts on any other wrestler. You can put Glacier's, whoever it is, any of the DLC members, any of their exclusive parts, you can put on anybody else, any of their exclusive moves you can have on anybody else, and you'll still be able to, if you're creating a specific wrestler, you'll be able to upload that to Community Creations, and your friends and anyone else will be able to download that. And which is really nice, which they don't have in the 2K series, is I remember it would say this character requires this, and this DLC, but it wouldn't tell you what it was. And that's a huge thing for me, that they're going to let you know what DLC part it is. So if you have Matt Cardona's vest and maybe one of his specific moves, but you see the vest, but you didn't realize you have his specific arm drag or whatever it might be. Well, the game will tell you that, and you'll be able to filter through it when you're going through your moves to see what DLC moves you might have, or creation parts. So that's really neat, and the fact that it could link to those specific DLCs, so you can just go and pick those characters, that's super awesome. Very user friendly. I love hearing that, and all the extra stuff we got to find out about the creation suite and how he wants to have like a basic creations, and then if you want to go more in depth, as opposed to just picking one out of 20 different faces or noses or eyes or whatever it is for your creator wrestler, you can actually go in and morph every specific part of the characters, which we haven't seen in a long time, where you can morph the body types, every part. Because I know Street Fighter 6 has an incredible system where you can really morph and manage every part. But in WWE games, we used to get that as well, and they've kind of stripped some of that away. Whereas like with the body types now, you only get to pick a few sizes. You don't get to individually morph every part of the body. It does result in some crazy creator wrestlers when you can do that. But that's fine. I'm all for it. The more customizability, the better. Same thing with the color wheel. You'll have, your generic colors. You pick them. You have maybe 6 options of red or whatever color it is to choose from. But you can get an advanced tab. You can open a color wheel, and you can adjust the color to exactly the tuning you want, which for creators out there, I know there's some incredible creators out there, and the more freedom and options you give them, the better. You get way more specific details and amazing stuff. And we already know we're getting an in-game paint tool, so you'll be able to create your own custom logos however you like. Excuse me. But not only that, they're going to go and try and have an image uploader as well. So you can just literally upload the logo you wanted, or, the singlet you wanted, or whatever it might be. Just like the WWE 2K games have. But at launch, they weren't sure about the image uploader, if there's going to be any issues with that for any reason. So at the bare minimum, they will have an in-game paint tool for you to create the parts, even if you don't have the image uploader right at launch. But they will have it at some point regardless. Hopefully it's in at launch. But I do like the fact that they have those dual features. The ability for you to do everything in-game, even if you can't pull stuff from the outside, which is super cool. Same thing with the music. They're unsure if they're going to be able to allow you to play music right off your PC, like if you're playing the game on PC, to use as entrance themes for wrestlers, or if you'll be able to, have some sort of Spotify integration. They're unsure how that's going to work at launch, but at the very minimum, they're going to have an in-game MIDI editor, so you can get those 8-bit chiptune cutting, those very N64 games-esque versions of the theme musics, where you're able to create those on your own for people who are, become good and proficient at using the MIDI editor. And that's super cool. Just being able to have that and download a character and have their MIDI edited version of their song as a part of it, so great. So great. So I couldn't be looking forward to this game anymore. Like, I'm super excited. I will leave a link down below to the full interview, if you haven't seen it already, with Sam Vallely here, that Stryzer and I did. And I will leave a link to, all their Patreons, all their stuff, ultraprowrestling.com, all their socials. All that stuff's going to be down below, along with Stryzer, Clint here, Stryzer Tube Wrestling's, all his YouTube and socials and stuff. We'll have all that down below as well. And if you haven't already, please leave me a like, comment, and subscribe. I will be getting as much Ultra Pro Wrestling content to you guys as we get new information. And I tried to make sure in this interview I asked as many unique questions that we didn't already have the answers to Sam, to get that exclusive content out here for you guys. So I hope you appreciate the content. And Devious Ones, we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.